Grab one of Dollar Tree's smaller mason jars for this lantern decor piece. We're not going to need the top, so we can go ahead and pop that off. And we're already off to a great start. Use any planter you would like for this part. I happen to have one of these square galvanized pieces, and I'm going to be using that. I grabbed it from Dollar Tree, as well as one of these Dollar Tree candle holders. Now, I've already painted this up and I have a transfer on it. Mind all of it, okay? Because we're not going to see it. We're just using it to be able to set our mason jar lantern on top of as its little stool. Floral foam would do the trick as well. To create the lantern look, we're gonna need one of these LED hanging lamps from Dollar Tree. I love how these fit perfectly right into the top of these mason jars, and they have the little button on the top so they're easy to turn on and off. I want to add a little something onto the mason jar, so I grabbed one of these stencils that I picked up off Amazon. You can get them in a pack. I even think I have some down in my Amazon affiliate link in the description box. I'm trimming it down to the size that I need, and I'm gonna grab some painter's tape and cut a whole bunch of little sections, because as you can imagine, it is not going to stay on here easily. So we're going to need to make sure that we're taping this down as much as possible, because it is a plastic stencil. You can obviously create your own so this way they stick on here, and that would probably work better, but I'm a rebel and we're going to use this plastic one. I know this multi-surface paint sticks amazingly to glass, so I'm just going to go ahead and use that. And I've had a lot of people say that they can't stencil. And a little tip, I do have a how-to stencil video. I can link that down below. A little tip, it doesn't matter what you use to apply your paint. I want you to understand the best way to stencil is to make sure you offload most of your paint to where whatever you're using, whether it's a paintbrush, whether it's a sponge, it is practically dry. If it is almost dry and there is no paint, you're not going to suffer from all that smushing underneath of the stencil, creating a lot of bleed through. Since the jar is circular, I'm also placing my finger very gingerly in different sections that are popping up on the stencil. So this way I make sure that as I'm applying my little pouncer, that the paint is going right over the stencil and not bleeding through. Also, it's a good idea to always remember that you want to keep your glass clean whenever you're working with it. You'll notice here I don't have gloves or anything like that, and I didn't clean my glass, and that's because I'm mostly just keeping the pieces for me and creating them for the ideas for you for the video. You want to make sure if you're doing this at home, you keep your glass clean and you wear gloves so you don't get any of those finger oils onto the glass underneath your paints. A lot of tappity, and later we have a beautiful stencil on our mason jar. I am shoving some greenery in our galvanized bucket piece. Pop whatever you would like in here to finish it up. Also glue whatever you want to glue down. Use your E6000, your Gorilla Glue Gel. I have things just sitting in here for staging purposes for the video to introduce the idea to you at home. And I hope you love it as much as I do. People, I love to decoupage me some candles, and whenever I can find the larger ones at Dollar Tree, I'm really happy about that, but I couldn't, so we're going to be decoupaging this little guy using this beautiful napkin. I love how this tells a whole story. This napkin is called Always This. They're like dancing in front of the city. I just think it's so timeless. Anyhow, I just wanted to take out a couple little pieces, and I call this patchwork. Everybody calls things different, whatever they call it. This is what I call this type of decoupage, whether I'm using a napkin or I'm using tissue paper. Whenever I take out designs and create my own design out of it, I like to call that patchwork. You can do this in many different ways. If you're going to do it on a candle though, you want to make sure you grab you some parchment paper. And you see here, I got the Great Value stuff. It doesn't have to be, you know, the name brand. And I'm often asked, like, Brandy, do we need to use the shiny side? I don't know. Is there a shiny side? Let me know in the comments. Do y'all see a shiny side to this parchment paper? Anyhow, when you've pulled apart your pieces, then it's time to decorate. You can do this with a canvas. You can do this with wood. You can do this with anything. You can create patchwork, decoupage, however you would like. Today, we're just going to be doing it on this little Dollar Tree candle. Then we're going to take our parchment paper, lay it over top of the pieces, and gingerly blow dry it until the piece becomes clear. You could absolutely tape your parchment paper on your candle if you like. I usually don't, so I can rub mine and then peel off to make sure it looks like this. I feel like adding little candles like this around your home, whether you're going to burn them or you're going to use them as decor, really adds a little something into your home. Lately, when I've been out shopping, I've been seeing these square risers. And if you're familiar with me, I love making risers, but I've yet to make one of these. So when I was in Dollar Tree recently and seen these square large blanks, I was like, oh, we're picking up some of these because I have an idea. We are going to need 2 of these actually, and I'm going to be using one of these little square dowels. It was only 99 cents from Hobby Lobby. You could use tumbling tower blocks if you want. And to cut this dowel down, we're going to need to bring on in the miter shears. I mean, you can use whatever you want, but around here I use the miter shears. It cuts dowels down pretty well. I marked it to size and I cut out 4 sections. 2 the same size to go on one end and then 2 a little bit shorter. To glue everything together, I'm going to be using a little bit of Tight Bond wood glue. They're a little quick and thick formula. I love this stuff. And some hot glue to get an immediate hold. Once I put everything on here, I was a little skeptical if I had a really good hold. So I went and grabbed some clamps just to put into place and allowed this to set for about 3 hours. For the legs, I'm going to be using these little pieces right here I picked up from Hobby Lobby. Now you can absolutely use some of Dollar Tree snowmen and flip them upside down if you would like. I use them all the time. I just wanted to use these, but use whatever you would like for the legs. I want to fill the holes in, so I'm going to use some of this lightweight spackling I pick up from Walmart for just a couple dollars to do that. At this point, you could just set it to the side to dry, but I'm gonna take some of these little accented pieces I picked up from Hobby Lobby and glue them down with some Gorilla Glue gel on the edges. If you don't have these or a Hobby Lobby local to you, you could absolutely do some clay molds and put them in the corners as well. Dollar Tree also has really amazing ornate stickers you could do the same with. Paint your piece whatever color you would like. Once everything's dry, I went with white, and then I wanted to just bring out some of those accents, so I grabbed my Dixie Belle gilding wax in the silver and did just that. This is absolutely stunning. Next time you're in Dollar Tree, head on over to their craft or square section and grab one of these little wood cubes and one of these acrylic boards. Now, I grabbed more than just one because I have fear of missing out issues, and you know, we crafters need more than just really one of anything. Anyhow, we're gonna need 2 of each to create this tabletop decor set. And people, I'd be lying if I told you it was all sunshine and rainbows, but it's not, okay? Peeling this plastic film off of the top of these things, ooh, it is, I'm sorry. It's not easy, okay? Find a corner and gently peel it off. For this next part, you could absolutely use some of Dollar Tree's tumbling tower blocks, but I had this trim laying around this little pretty decorative trim that I picked up from Home Depot. They have this section where you can buy small, inexpensive pieces of trim, and I like to stop over there and grab this so I have it in my stash. And for this next part, we're going to need to bring on in the miter shears so we can cut 2 pieces down to size to go right on the top of our cubes. This way we have a brace to be able to put our little acrylic boards inside. Before I glued everything down, I did take a second to sand all the rough edges around. That miter shear didn't give these the cleanest cut, and it looked kind of shabby hanging over the sides of our cube. To attach everything, I'm going to use some of Type-On's Quick and Thick, and I'm going to just kind of smear some right on the top here and line up our 2 pieces right in the center, and then take our acrylic board and put it right down. I will tell you that it's slightly flimsy even after it dry, and I say that just because if you notice the pieces that it's squeezing together, it's real small. I'm not concerned about it falling apart though, because I know that it's going to hold up, but you might want to use something a little bit thicker. That's why I recommended the tumbling tower blocks, or use a different thicker piece of decorative trim. For the center, I'm going to be using some of my TDS Decoupage tissue paper. I'm going to cut down 2 sections of this gorgeous decorative paper so we can apply it right in the center of our acrylic boards. You can remix this idea to match your home decor with so many different ways. You could use transfers, you can use wall decals, you can use napkins or photos. I really love these vintage pieces, and we're going to need to bring on in the iron so we can just straighten these pieces out. Now for this, I'm going to just turn our iron on low. We don't need it to be overheated. Grab a piece of parchment paper and place it down gently over each of our pieces and just give them a once over, so this way they're nice and flat. You can attach these pieces however you want. I wanted to be able to remove mine, so I'm going to take some of my glue tape and just go around the edges here on each one of the pieces. Then I'm going to flip them over and gently press them down. I will say, if you want to use 2 pieces of this acrylic board and kind of smash something in between, like if you wanted to do tried flowers, that would look really cool as well. I just wanted to use one for this. Take the idea and remix it, whatever works best for you. These Dollar Tree pieces turned out so stunning and elegant. The decoupage paper absolutely looks amazing right in the center. I walk past the little folding fans in Dollar Tree all the time, and today I thought, let's start flipping them suckers open. I've always wanted to just flip them open, and honestly, it's really not as easy as you think. But I know you're not here for my flipping folding fan skills, as sad as it makes me. Whatcha? One more time. Okay, I'm done. Or am I? I'm just kidding. Isn't it pretty? This one's really pretty with the bright green and the gold. Some of these have little tassels dangling off of them, which is great because I really hate making tassels, so I'm gonna hoard them suckers for later. I just took it off and plopped it over in my pile to the side of the table. And be mindful when you're opening these, because certain ways they won't extend fully, and then other ways like this one, it extends all the way out and you can see the entire fan. For this tabletop decor piece, I wanted the fan to extend the entire length of the tray here. And I'm going to use a little floral foam scrap piece that I had sitting along the side because I just needed 2 small sections to be able to brace the fan right in the center. Well, not exactly in the center, on the sides of the center, because if you notice, the center kind of sticks down a little bit, and I wanted it to have a brace, and the floral foam provided that for me. and allowed me to plop the ends of the fan in place and hold it once I glued it. For a long hold, I'm going to be using tacky glue to assist me with the hot glue. I want to make sure that the fan stays open, and there are a couple ways you can go about this. For this particular project, I just decided to make sure I use some tacky glue and some hot glue on each side of the ends of our fan. This way the design stayed completely displayed. I had some hot glue foam sticks sitting around and put them suckers in my hot glue gun and went ham where I had the little floral foam pieces on each side just to ensure that this was going to stay in place when I had it all put together. To fill up the tray, I'm just using some of the little river rocks from Dollar Tree. Put whatever you want in here and use whatever color fan and tray you want to recreate this for what works for your home decor. I personally wanted to bring out that white and added a white candle and some white florals into our floral foam, and I love this so much. We're gonna need 3 of the long pallets, and we're gonna also need to cut up some popsicle sticks to create our little bond in the back. I like to cut them about this size, and I cut usually in between 4 to 6 because I'm never sure how many I'm going to use until I get into it. However, for this one I only end up using 4. To create my bonds, I love using wood glue and hot glue, and I make sure not to overlap them because they will cancel each other out. Once I get the hot glue on there, I then just place the little bits of the popsicle sticks over top. Plus, I think this is a good place to put the wood glue because it's going to smoosh in down to those cracks, kind of creating an extra bond between the 2 pieces. And decided to let this dry overnight. Now, a few hours will be fine if that's what you want to do. However, I'm stapling this nautical rope on here. You can use Gorilla Glue Gel or E6000, that will probably work just fine, but I like using a stapler even if I'm using it backwards and the staples are not going in there. I don't know what was wrong with me in this stapler, but it wasn't coming together. It wasn't processing, and it took me a minute to really figure out that I needed to thin out the nautical rope. We're in there. That one's in there. Oh my God. Once I thinned out the nautical rope, the staples went in with no problem. So learn from my mistake, people. Thin out the ends and then use your staples, put it in there, however you want to say it, and it will work out just fine. I took some antique Waverly wax. Not getting fancy schmancy here. We're just going to put a little bit on and dry brush it. And that's all I'm doing in terms of painting this. I wanted to just keep this really neutral, hence neutral DIYs. And then we're going to use some mini glass containers from Dollar Tree. I know they have several of these that have little corks in them. I like these ones because of the wider opening at the top. And I thought, let's put a little stencil on here. You know, I have all these different stencils, and I thought, let's use some Waverly white chalk paint, put the stencil in there. We're just going to dab it on in. It's going to be magnific-amazing. And then it kind of wasn't. It looked like a glob of paint. So I just wiped that off and then went back in for another attempt, and it turned out much better. I put a little stencil design on each one of the glass jars and then grabbed some paper to decoupage this little wood slice from a pack you can pick up at Walmart. I put a little bit of Mod Podge on here, nothing heavy, a thin amount because we're doing some paper, and then I'm taking my sander and trying to play it off, even though I just dropped it on the floor. I picked it back up, sanded it off camera, and then took some antique Waverly wax to finish up the edges. I then grabbed some of these laser cutouts that was sent to me in another box from another subscriber. Thank you very, very much for these, and painted them with some white Waverly chalk paint. Then took some hot glue and put them down into the center of our pretty wall piece. And be careful because that glue it will smoosh in between those little holes and burn you. So be careful. I took some black paint and did around the edges, and then found some little floral wire, so this way we could wrap it around the top of our jars to be able to twist in the back and then attach to our frame that we have built here with our pallets, our little wall decor piece. And we're going to you'll be able to remove these, as nothing's going to be set in stone. So if you want to change the mini glass jars out, because Dollar Tree does have many different options, you do you. I'm just giving you the ideas. You take them, you remix them, and make them into whatever makes you fuzzy inside. Okay, now I did kind of stagger the bottles in different spots, and then just added some little greenery. So much stuff would look so cute like these. I love how this turned out. Next time you're in Dollar Tree, grab some of these beautiful decorative wall mirrors. For this large wall decor set, we're going to need 2 of these. And we're going to need to remove the mirrors. So to do this, I kind of started, bending it around and stuff, seeing if I could wiggle it loose. This was my first time doing this. Oh no, 7 years. I did better the second time around. This might not be the right channel for this, but who believes in superstitions? Because I'm in trouble. It's okay. I'm going to be okay, right? Okay, moving on. We're going to give these a coat of spray paint with this beautiful coastal sage color I've been in love with recently. If you want to put a sealer over these, you go right ahead. It's not going to hurt anything. For the large background, I'm going to be using 2 of these 11 by 14 inch artist canvases from Dollar Tree. And then I headed over to their little wallpaper section and grabbed this wallpaper. Obviously, use whatever design you want for the back. This is just what I went with. These are also super easy to use, but I will tell you, they will peel off fairly easy of the canvas. So it's good to use some extra spray stick, or maybe even do a little bit of Mod Podge on there before you peel them on down and put them into place. This way you're just ensuring that whatever you're putting your wallpaper on, especially if it's a canvas, it's not going to go peeling back up anytime soon. And another good tip is just to take a scraping tool and rub that wallpaper all down on your canvas, whether you're using that extra adhesive sticky stuff or not, so this way you get all your bubbles out. Then I trimmed it on down to size, and if you're fine with your piece, leave it as it is. Me, however, I'm gonna bring on in my tumbling tower blocks so I can create a little trim around the edge. I wanted the trim white, and if you don't want to do tumbling tower blocks, you could obviously use a piece of wood or whatever, but I will tell you that this is painstaking, and it was at this moment that I realized I hated my life and I could not paint these individually like this. So a little tip if you love doing tumbling tower block projects is to gather them all up in a line like this and then apply your paint. Spray paint is also easy too, but if you don't want to use spray paint, this works really well. Take your heat gun them off, and then rotate them, paint the other side, and then rinse and repeat until your tumbling blocks are completely painted the way that you wanted. Now mind the little brown spots, okay, because they didn't all need to be painted. Not every side, people, okay? Just certain pieces, and I can be lazy at crafting sometimes, and I needed a lot of these little blocks. Give me a break. Give me some grace. You're not even going to notice the spots I didn't paint, okay? Then you're going to just take them and line them up. Keep in mind that there's going to be a little bit of hangover, okay? See how on each side there is a smidge of a hangover, and you're just going to adjust as you're gluing these down. I do recommend laying the pieces out on the long sides prior to gluing them down on the small sides, because Accidents happen. I knew it. I knew I shouldn't have did that. I did the corner first. Be mindful to just put the corner on last, okay? Put the corner on last, because if not, I got lucky that that didn't peel all the way out, but learn from my mistakes. I did notice that there were a couple little neutral spots left, so I took some of that white paint and just went around touching everything up. For the center of the mirrors, we're going to use some burlap, and to attach it, we're going to do that with some tacky glue after we cut a nice little circle that fits perfectly right in the middle where the mirror used to be. Remember that broken mirror? Yeah, I'm moving on from it, okay? Smush you some tacky glue down around the center and leave enough space to put some hot glue around the outside. This way that tacky glue is going to hold that burlap into place over time, and that hot glue is going to get it down into place immediately. You can skip this next part if you want, but my burlap cutting game was off. So I used some of this little teeny tiny white rope or cream colored rope to just tuck one in around the edges. Use whatever flowers you want for the center of your pieces. I decided to just roll on with some succulents, and please make sure to add some tacky glue onto the back of yours. And you want to make sure that you're adding some Gorilla Glue gel or some tacky glue or E6000 onto the back of this as well before you press it onto your piece. Using just hot glue on the edges will probably have this pop right off that wallpaper. I know what you're thinking, Brandy, not another lantern DIY. How many more lantern DIYs we need to see? This one, people. Listen, these lanterns are actually pretty inexpensive. They come in different sizes, and y'all know I love options, people. They also come in different colors, but I have a twist on these that I had to share. So just roll on with me. We're gonna need 2 of these Shadow Heidi box thingies from Dollar Tree, okay? $1.25 each. And then you're gonna need a wood stick. Whatever type of wood stick you would like. If you want to use tumbling blocks for this part, you go right ahead. I was not in the mood to put them suckers together. And I had this in my stash that I picked up from, I think, Home Depot. These are pretty inexpensive. So I brought on in the miter shears and then kind of eyeballed a size. I didn't measure, if I'm being honest. I was like, this height looks good, and just chop me 4 equal parts. Don't you just love when pieces get flying across the room and you're like, I'll find that next project? Here's where the twist comes in, because I'm sure you've seen the build construction before. We're going to take some texture paste and a stencil and create a raised stencil in the outer part of the box that has a pop through of color. Brandy, what are you talking about? Listen, we're going to mix some brown, okay? Still giving it the boho-y type feel, and you can recreate this with pretty much any type of stencil. Mix in with the texture paste. That's another thing I love about using this stuff, is you can take whatever color you want and you can turn it that color, and it's super easy to spread. Now I like to tape. As you can see, I got the painter's tape sitting down there. I tried to tape it on there, but it was not, big enough. It was too small, so I decided to just hold it on here with my hand and gently spread it out. If you don't have a fancy schmancy spreader to do something like this, people use like a plastic spoon or whatever. You can go ahead and wing it. It's gonna spread no matter what. I've even used my finger in a pinch with a wet paper towel, keeping my finger clean as I swiped the medium. And honestly, you can wipe the stencil off as you go as well, keeping it clean as you're smooshing. Sometimes I get like 3 applications before there starts to become a lot of bleed through. It just really depends on how well I have the stencil attached to the surface. Once the piece was completely dry, and you can usually check that by like taking your fingernail and pressing into the texture, it took about 45 minutes to an hour. And if you want to speed it up, you know, you take your heat gun. Some of us don't have a lot of patience. And then you just paint over your piece. I just used some Waverly chalk paint in the white for this, and I gave the entire lantern a nice coat. When our paint was all dry, I grabbed my Type-On quick and thick wood glue. I smooshed a little bit in each corner, and then I grabbed the hot glue gun and put a little bit on the legs of our bracelet. What are we calling these? The wood pieces that go in the corner that attach the top and the bottom. How's that sound? The wood pieces. Let me know in the comments. What do you call them? I'm calling them legs. The lanterns have legs. I put these in there, and then I attached the top also using more wood glue and more hot glue. You can leave this like that if you want. It's nice, right? But I decided to grab one of Dollar Tree's little wood rings to just put in the center on the top of our roof, and I'm painting that the same brown paint that we put in our texture paint. Why, you may ask? Because we're gonna grab some sandpaper and we are going to knock the top layer of that white paint off of our raised texture that we have, so that the beautiful color that we put in that texture mixture pops through. We have a gorgeous design all around the lantern.